Tonight, this Sunday, we celebrate the feast known as Gaudete Sunday. Now, Gaudete Sunday is a Latin word which means to rejoice. Rejoice in the fact that at this point, we're a little over halfway toward the celebration of Christ our Savior. And the church believes that the idea of rejoicing is best expressed by the lighting of the rose-colored candle in our Advent wreath. Now, you're going to notice this is the current Advent wreath burning. You're going to see that there are 3 of the 4 candles that are currently lit. The first candle, on the first Sunday of Advent, we light a purple candle. Purple is the color of a king, which means that's the first Sunday of Advent. The second Sunday of Advent, we light another purple candle. Our King, our Savior, is getting closer to his birthday. Today we light the rose-colored candle, which represents Gaudete Sunday. We're getting really close now to the birth of our Savior. We should have this true feeling of rejoicing and joy in our heart because Christ our Savior is getting so close to his birth. Then next Sunday, we will have all 4 candles lit, lighting the 4th purple candle, representing the fact that we're only days away at that point next Sunday from celebrating Christ's birth. The church also asks that we not only light today the rose-colored candle, but the priest also wears a rose-colored vestment. Now, there are 2 times in a year we wear this rose-colored vestment, the 3rd Sunday of Advent and the 4th Sunday of Lent. And I enjoy wearing this rose-colored vestment because for me it makes the few black hairs I have left look dark. But the whole idea of rejoicing, and so important is the idea of rejoicing that the first reading, the second reading, and naturally this is always going to be true of the gospel, but the first reading and second reading for today's Mass has the word rejoice inside of it. So let's take a look at the reading coming out of Isaiah the prophet, the first reading. This is the 61st chapter of Isaiah, verse 10. There it is. I rejoice heartily in the Lord, and my God is the joy of my soul. The concept of to rejoice, to celebrate the near birth of Christ our Savior. This is also true in the second reading coming out of 1 Thessalonians. Take a look. There it is again, chapter 5 of the 1 Thessalonians, Paul's letter to them, verse 16. Brothers and sisters, rejoice always. Rejoicing. But Christmas is an enigma. There's a lot of people who want to rejoice at Christmas time, but their life isn't complete. For some people, their life is in shambles. For some people, they might have experienced the loss of a loved one this past year. You say to yourself, I want to rejoice, but I can't. I would like to rejoice and have something to be joyful about, but there's someone in my family, someone in my home, someone among my friends who is suffering from a terminal illness. How can I rejoice? And so you decide not to rejoice out of maybe respect to that person. Well, you know, there's a friend of mine. He had been serving as a Santa Claus over at Westmoreland Mall for several years now. He's not doing it this year. And every so often, he would call me out when he'd be working at the mall and right before taking his break. He'd say, Kenny, I'm going to be on break. Can you come over? We'll have lunch together. So he was one of Santa Claus's helpers. He was literally dressed as Santa Claus, and he would be writing down all the information for Santa Claus so he could give the Santa Claus all the information about what all the little boys and girls wanted for Christmas. And so every so often, I would drive over to Westmoreland Mall, and I would have lunch with my friend who was working as Santa Claus over at the mall. And I would find out what he wanted to eat, and as I got to Santa Land over to Westmoreland Mall, I would go over to the food court. I would get him whatever he wanted. I'd get myself whatever I wanted. When I would get to Santa Land at the Westmoreland Mall is still there. There's a little shack for the elves, and that's where Santa would enter that little building. And inside of that building was a little table and a couple chairs, and at the table we would have lunch together, and then he would sit in a chair and relax before his starting time, the next shift would start. And I enjoy that because we'd be sitting there and I would just feel, oh, this is the greatest. I always want to have lunch with Santa. We'd do this 8 or 9, 10 times prior to Christmas. This one day he called me up, he asked me to come on over, so I got us some lunch and we went into the little elf shack. And he walked in and he seemed very sad. And I said to Santa, this isn't like you. You seem so sad. Where's the smile? Where's the ho, ho, ho? Where's the rejoicing in your heart? What happened? And he told me that everything fell apart for him with the last little boy that sat on his lap. And I said, what happened? Well, he told me that his elves had shut the line off. They had put up a little sign that Santa was going to take a break at 4 o'clock, so they stopped the line so no one else could get in line, so eventually Santa would get to 4 o'clock, take his break. The last little boy in line, he walked up to Santa. Santa put him on his lap, and he said, little boy, what do you want for Christmas? And the little boy said, I want my baby brother back. And Santa said to him, well, what do you mean by that? Where is he? And the little boy said to Santa, he's looking right in his eyes, and the little boy had to be about 5 years old, maybe 4. He said to Santa, you know, my little baby brother had been sick for a long, long time. And he's no longer here. And my mom told me that God came and took my little baby brother and took my baby brother to be with him. And then God told me that my baby brother is in a much better place right now and that my baby brother is no longer sick. So since he's no longer sick, I think it's about time that God brings my baby brother back. Because if he doesn't bring him back, that's stealing. I want my baby brother back. And my friend told me that was one of the first times in his entire life, and that's probably true because this guy can talk forever. That was one of the first times in his entire life that he absolutely didn't know what to say. He just looked at the little fella. Fortunately, the tears were rolling into his beard, and so the little boy couldn't see the tears rolling down his cheek. He didn't know what to say to the little fella. You know, when he conveyed that story to me inside of the little elf shack, I thought to myself, that's probably true of a lot of people. Maybe tonight at this Mass, that might be true for some of us, some of you, if not all of you here tonight. You know, Christmas is an enigma. You want to celebrate, you want to rejoice, but then you say to yourself, I can't. Because you might be sitting there saying, if I had a perfect Christmas, I would need my baby brother back. If my Christmas were to be perfect, I would need mom back, I would need dad back. I would need an aunt or an uncle back. I would need my best friend back. And since they can't come back, how can my Christmas ever be perfect? Why would I ever want to rejoice and celebrate? I think the answer to that is pretty obvious. We rejoice in this world for several reasons. One, the dominant reason, Christ our Savior is near his birth on Christmas Day. But if that doesn't give you enough impetus to celebrate and rejoice, maybe this thought would. We should always rejoice in the fact of what God has given to us in the first place, despite the fact that he gives and he takes away. And maybe he took from you your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, an aunt or an uncle or friend, but you say to yourself, I rejoice because I had those people in the first place. They made me who I am. They made me what I am. Because if they had never been a part of my life for a period of time as they had been, I wouldn't be the human being I am right now. And that's cause to celebrate. That's cause to rejoice. So we rejoice in what we had, despite the fact we no longer do. And then we should always rejoice with those that we currently still have. What a tragedy it would be not to celebrate, not to walk around with a smile on your face on Christmas Day, not to enjoy the people that come to your house or the people you enjoy as you travel to theirs, because a piece of your life's puzzle is missing. And you walk into their house with a cloud over your head and a frown on your face, and you walk not to celebrate with those you still have because you feel so bad with those you lost. Because one day, the people you currently have might join the list of the people you once had and lost. A lady told me the other day when she was reviewing with me her Thanksgiving meal, and she said that they had at her table in their home, they had 23 people. And that sounded glorious, but then she told me that as they were sitting there and trying to enjoy their meal, Instead of celebrating each other, they were talking about the one family of 4 who decided to boycott the meal and not show up. So they spent the whole evening, the whole meal, talking about those who were absent rather than celebrating those who were present. What a tragedy. What an unfortunate thing to do. Third Sunday of Advent, Gaudete Sunday, symbolized by the beautiful soft color of rose, both on the candle and on the vestment. It means to rejoice. And all of us, despite the fact we have a lot perhaps that would make us shed a tear, we still have a lot to rejoice and to celebrate about and over. And that we should always do. Wake up Christmas morning and say to yourself, it doesn't get any better than this, because I celebrate all those I once had and lost, and I appreciate the fact they were part of my life, and I celebrate all those I still have and hold.